everybody. How are you? Welcome to Career Highlight Thursdays. I have with me Mr. Victor Dandridge. We have a couple folks on. I have one of our, there's one of the Lead the Way Learning Academy youth on, Mr. Allen. And he actually did the logo for our In the Zone kickoff right this past December. So if you get a chance, Victor, go check it out. Alan's a really everything art is Alan. So Alan, we are so happy to have you.
And
I think he's letting some of his other folks know to come on. So what's been up? Like I'm happy to have you.
Oh my God, it's an absolute honor. Thank you.
And you teach. I know I'm just jumping right in. We're not even gonna. I will say, for formality purposes, for anyone that's on that has questions, you can go ahead and put those in the comments. That when we do Q&A with Mr. Victor, we can ask him those questions, get that feedback. I do have his contact information, how to follow, website, and all that. We'll put that up later on during the broadcast. So again, welcome to Career Highlights, provided by Lead the Way Learning Academy, where we're providing various industry leaders to come in, speak with our youth or young adults and anyone in the community, which is free and open to the public, for us to share what's going on in various industries. And that way, if you're looking for a career, you can kind of ask someone who's already doing that kind of work and get an idea. So come tell your friends. I think we do this all the way, if I think Lead the Way's doing this all the way through March, I believe.
Oh, beautiful.
So yeah. And we also have career readiness, but I'll go over that since you were on a little bit earlier. I'm like, cool, that'll work. So
that's right.
Let's go right in. So you, I think we've got a couple more people on. If you guys could tell us first who's with us, we'll do a quick temperature check. So if you're a student, place a heart emoji in the comments, a parent, a smiley face, an educator, give us a thumbs up, and a community partner, a gift box, just so we know who is on and watching with us. And if you're watching, please share, tag a friend, tag a youth member, a student, an educator, someone that you think may want to partner with Lead the Way Learning Academy. It would be great to do so. So go ahead and do that at this time. If you're a student, place a heart emoji, parent, a smiley face, educator, thumbs up, community partner, a gift box in the comments. We definitely want to know who's with us. So I know Alan's with us, and he's a student. We do know that. I see we've got more people on. I don't know if they're staying or they're just driving by. You know how you drive by.
No, sometimes you just gotta peep in and be like, oh wait, this is where I need to be. This is it.
Right. And they need to be here. Like they're gonna miss out if they don't. I mean, they really should stop by. All right. So if you're out there, again, students, place your heart emoji in the comments. Parents, by placing a smiley face. Educator, a thumbs up, or a community partner by placing a gift box. We do have one giveaway today. I believe it's a Lead the Way Learning Academy t-shirt provided by Lead the Way Learning Academy. So if you stay on long enough, we'll do a quick giveaway, but I won't hold us up because no one's putting anything in yet. And I know there's also sometimes a delay between where we are to where they are. So I'm trying to give it a few minutes. And we'll go on from there. So while we're doing that, we'll go ahead and start with the introductions, if that's all right with you, Victor.
Of course.
All right. So Mr. Victor is I've known him forever.
That's really true. I'm like, where are you going to start with this one?
We'll just start for known him forever. But what I think is super dope is how you have been able to take what you love to do and live. Like, I think everybody doesn't get to do that.
That is true.
And you've been doing it for some time now, right?
It's been a little bit. I actually just celebrated 10 years of being a full-time self-publishing entrepreneur.
Wow.
Yeah, that was... it's been 10 years.
That long?
Crazy. Why are we that old? What happened?
We ain't going down that rabbit hole.
All right, that's good. Yes, 10 years. I celebrated this past October.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So doing what you love to do for 10 years and been able to take care of yourself and your family.
Yes, that's always the barometer. It's one thing to have the right to follow your dreams, but do you have the responsibility to take care of all the things that you need to while doing so? That's the balance. So
so you're
very fortunate.
Writer, publisher, graphic designer, educator. So you're doing, and I know I've known since forever you've always done comics. That's how I knew you first, because you did comics. But
that's my love.
Artist, period.
Well, thank you, thank you. I mean, as I've gotten older, I am less of an artist, we'll say, and more of a graphic designer. So,
Okay.
as opposed to doing more, fine arts material or things like that, I'm more about the design of function. So
Okay.
that's my specificity. But yes, comic books is my love. It is my joy. It is my passion, and it is literally what I set out to create when I left the private sector 10 years ago. So
So
it
what
was
were
all
you
about
doing
comics.
10 years ago?
So this is the funny part, and this is one of the greatest stories of all time. I was working for the state of Ohio for Bureau of Workers Comp. So
Wow.
yeah, for the young ones, if you get a state job, generally speaking, one does not quit a state job.
And I quit a federal one.
See, okay,
Fist
so
bump virtually. Fist bump virtually.
okay, yes, 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 yes. Because these are the we grew up at a time period where to get a state job, a city job, a federal job
You
was
don't ever.
creme de la creme. You don't
That's it.
leave those
Ever.
like ever until they like kick you out. You don't
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
And it's the idea was that government work was considered high paying, not necessarily high stress. Didn't always require college degrees. It was solid, stable work, and it's fantastic. It has its place. Like, let me not pretend like that's not a good thing.
No, and yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I
Right.
totally
It just
agree.
wasn't for me. Like,
I was like,
I have a creative spirit. I needed to create,
right.
and if I don't
And you
do
were
that, I'm not
dying.
happy. I
And
was.
you were
See?
grumpy.
Yes, yes. This is all truth.
So all
truth.
of our youth that are on here, I know there's some of you guys are definitely creatives. There is a way, and we're going to ask Victor more questions. Again, for those of you that are just joining us, if you have questions for Mr. Victor, he is 10 years now doing this full time. As he said, his preferred, I guess, title would be more of a graphic designer.
Yes.
But I know for a fact that he's an artist and he's done everything under the sun. I know that for a fact. I got receipts. I have receipts, but definitely put your questions in the chat. This is the time to ask, because I know right now, I think where we are in life, especially with COVID and stuff, people are just to the point now. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do what I love to do. And
Yes.
I've even found it with my own teenager. He's like, I was like, well, Jaden, no, do a balance of, tech and art. And he took the design class this past semester. He's like, Mom, I hate it. I don't want to do that. He's like, I want to do it because I want to, but the
Right.
way that they made, he's like, no. So he's going to end up being an art major, believe it or not. So
Okay.
I think, those of you that are on, ask your questions, because he's been successful for the past 10 years, still being able to maintain responsibilities and make a great living. So tell us what made you go into your line of work. We know you weren't happy. We got
Right.
that.
Right. I was not. And to give my origin story, which is what I'll call it since I'm comic booky,
Okay.
I started in comic books when I was 10. Right. I didn't like to read as a child. So, and it wasn't even that I had deficiencies. I just found books predominantly boring until I got into comic books. So it kind of gave me something to kind of, latch onto, a focus. And it kind of guided me through middle school, definitely into high school, which is why I went to Fort Hayes, because you had the arts focus.
Fort.
Right. So I went there both for high school as well as vocational studies, and was able to graduate with a certification in commercial art. So that's where my graphic design, passions really kind of, start.
What
That's
program
where
were you in at Fort Hayes, if you could just share with everyone?
Sure, it was commercial art. I had
Okay.
K. Michelle Darling, who unfortunately has passed, but also Ronald Anderson, who could be watching right now. He, I think he's since retired. But yeah, I had great
Hi,
teachers.
Mr. Anderson.
I know, right?
If you're on, let us know you're here.
Yes, yes. But yes, between the vocational side as well as the high school side, I had Teresa Weidenbush, I had Greg Walton, all phenomenal
Mr.
teachers.
Walton, I love Mr. Walton.
Right?
I'm sorry, we're having a little reunion.
I know.
No shit.
But all very phenomenal teachers that were very encouraging and allowing me to explore things, even when it came to comic books that was not exactly their norm. I also have to give a shout out, forgive me, to Ann Johnson, who I never actually had as a teacher, but recruited me for the vocational program. She retired right before I came in, but she was my recruitment teacher. So I love her too. So, but yes, when it came down to it, I wanted to create comics. I knew that. from the time when I was younger, I actually suffered a loss of a family member. My uncle Mark was a victim of violent crime, and he was someone that was very, very supportive. I mean, encouraging. Like those are like small words in consideration of what it was that he did for me. But he really wanted me to explore the arts as a career, and I decided, upon his death, that was going to be something that I did. I was going to make something of myself in the comic book industry in honor of my uncle, who so vehemently believed that I could. So,
wow.
Again, driving factors. You take loss. It can be a motivating factor. It doesn't have to be something that stops you.
Yeah.
Push through. And I think a lot of what I've done is because I've had higher powers looking out for me, and it's been wonderful. I got to the point where, again, I'd been working for the state for 5 years, but I had that itch, right? I had been creating some things, but it wasn't to the level or frequency that I wanted. So I had to leave. And that was a very interesting choice.
Yes, I think a lot, and I think I will say, just as a parent with a creative child, just for the younger folks, if you hear your parent kind of pushing you in certain areas, especially of entrepreneurship, it's so good to start now versus you have a whole family and you've already gotten accustomed to another way of life, and that part of your brain may not be on. So you're not only talking to someone who's a professional artist or also a successful entrepreneur. So I would say, I'm pretty sure, if I could tell, I know I tell my son all the time, if you're going to do art, we just start now. Like, what are we waiting for? So that's another story. So I know you told us a little bit about high school. Anything else you want to share about your educational and career journey? Like, I know that you were saying while you were at the state, you had an itch. Like, was there something that just happened that made you take the leap, or?
Yes, which might be a little bit more heavy than this particular conversation would allow.
Well, you can give us the
I'll give you the abridged version.
Okay.
We'll say that I hit a quarter life crisis where there was a matter of looking at things and saying, okay, I've got, a beautiful family, I've got this stable career, but is this the thing that I want to be remembered for? He had a decent job, he's a good dad, he's a good husband type guy. Like he was cool. I wanted more. I wanted more for myself. I wanted to create more for my family. I wanted my name to mean something more. And that was really kind of the part where I was looking around and saying, okay, creatively, there's a lot more that I can do. What am I waiting for? As you just said, like there's so many times that we do that when I grow up, and it hit me, I'm 25, 26 years old at the time. And I'm like, I am grown up. What am I doing? What else am I waiting for? At this point, there's nothing else for me to wait for, nothing else for me to achieve. Just do the thing. So in a couple of years, after that moment, it was like a countdown. I needed to go because, and if I'm being frank here and humble bragging a little bit, all the things that I've accomplished in the last 10 years proved to me that mentality was exactly the right choice, because I wouldn't have done half of what I have on my resume now if I hadn't stepped out there to explore what I could do.
So share with us a little bit of that resume, so that I know we got Alan on the line. Also know It's Random Alan on YouTube watching, who I know is a phenomenal artist and has done some great things with Lead the Way. And he's also a great student at the Charles School and has worked with the mural project there. And so share with him like what that resume looks like, so he can have an idea of what he can reach for. Because a lot of times we just don't do, because we don't know it's attainable. So
that is true. You don't know what you don't know. And particularly as a creative of color, there's not a ton of examples for us. I do have to give a shout out to Daryl Banks. He was one of the first professional Black comic book artists that I ever met. Same thing with Jonathan Glapian. They paved ways, and it was beautiful to meet them and kind of be shown what could be. But what I've been able to do is I've been a self-publisher, which means that I am a writer as well as a financial producer of comic books. I started my own imprint called Vantage In-House Productions. And from there, I've produced 5 award-winning, fan favorite, critically acclaimed comic book series, ranging, thank you, from all ages, with my Wonder Care Presents the Kindergarten series, all the way to more mature lines with the series called The Samaritan. You can actually see the poster for The Samaritan over my shoulder here.
I see it.
Yes,
and you got to send me the Wonder Care one, or where I can grab it so I can do a read aloud. I want to do a read aloud, and never mind. Yeah.
We'll get that. Well, yes.
Oh my God. And look, Alan said, wow, see, look at that. Alan, I'm so happy you're on.
Yes. So that was one of the first things that I did. In the midst of this, I actually partnered with a comic book convention. I'm sorry, let me bring that back. One of the things that I also did was I launched an educational program called You Create Comics. And what the whole focus was taking the way that comic books had impacted me educationally and really kind of, showcasing the value to the classroom, how you can take comic books, which have often been seen as forms of derogatory entertainment, but say, no, it's actual literature, can actually help you in the classroom. This is how you do it. So that was the plan. I partnered with the Columbus Metropolitan Library and worked with their summer reading club. Where I met Jaden.
You met Jaden there.
Yes.
So you've also been doing a lot of work in the community as well. And thanks for taking the time to stop by here too and giving back in this way. We appreciate it.
Of course. This is part of the responsibility. Like I said, I have a right to pursue my dreams. But if I'm only doing it for my own, uplift, then that's not the way. I have to rise the tide for others, or else I'm not doing something right. So in that regard, in 2019, I hosted a Kickstarter that would allow for me to bring the You Create Comics line to 10 schools in Central Ohio, specifically Columbus City schools. Was funded. Let's see, what was the total? I think we funded 15 total schools, 200 students at each school. So 3,000 students.
And
we were able to.
And you did another Kickstarter too recently.
I did that recently for one of my books. So again, using crowdfunding, all that fun stuff. But those are some of the projects that I've been a part of in my career. Working with comic book conventions, I've met some of the biggest celebrities by being able to interview them, much as you are doing to me right now.
Yes, share with them the good news about the American Skin. Like you just slid that on in today, and I mean,
listen. Today on my calendar, today was a phenomenal day, and to punctuate it with this experience, having this conversation with you is the absolute blessing. I mean that. I do mean that. This morning, I was able to interview a discussion of sorts. Writer, director, actor Nate Parker, Theo Rossi, Milana Jackson, and Shane Paul McGee, who all star in a very, very pivotal, very emotional, very sensitive, topical movie called American Skin. And we had a phenomenal conversation. I was joined by Dr. Vanessa Hintz, who is a clinical psychologist out of Milwaukee. And we had a great conversation about this movie and the potential impact that it could have on society. So these are things that I get to do in my career. I get to have these beautiful conversations. And it all started from my love of comics.
So I do have one question from our coach in the chat, and says, we have several students that want to do anime and currently creating his own, I don't even know what that, manga. Manga.
Yes.
I should know. Jaden is into that. Can you speak to that, please, if you have any knowledge
Of course. So manga, anime, they are a culture. It's based off of Japanese animation. Manga specifically is the comic book side. Anime is the actual animated series portion of it. What's crazy, and so many young manga fans don't even know this, but manga's originations are actually steeped in Disney culture. So one of the first major manga creators who created Astro Boy was a huge fan of Walt Disney.
I love Astro Boy.
I know. Loved what Walt Disney did, and created a system of symbols that would represent emotional states. Much in the same way like how we have that emotional chart.
Yeah.
He kind of used that to create symbols to represent emotions in manga. So it creates a shorthand of characterizations. And it's something that's very prominent in manga, has evolved into the animated side of things. And it's huge. The explosion of Japanese culture in book form has been tremendous. And it's changed reading for the better for the last 20 years.
So have you worked with any, you've done any anime as well, or?
I dabble in it.
Okay.
It's something that has a lot of cultural significance that I'm not necessarily the biggest practitioner of, but I respect it without question. There's things where like you learn about foreign cultures. Case in point, so in Western society, we read from left to right, top to bottom.
Right.
In Eastern cultures, they read the opposite direction,
Yep,
so
they
it's
sure
right to
do.
left.
Yep.
So that's something that you have to learn in order to appreciate manga
That's
in its
right.
original format. So that's cultural. That's traveling the world without ever having to leave your home. There's so
Yeah.
many things that you can learn from this experience.
So, any suggestions? I know that they're mentioning that question. Is there any suggestions, for our youth that may be on, and one of the coaches are on, Chris, that he can share? And if you have resources, maybe you can get them to us later, and we can update
Sure,
and send that out. But if you have any, I'll definitely type them in the chat, like any first steps or things that they should look
absolutely.
into.
So one of the first things, like I said, would be to understand the symbolism of expressions. That's one of those key facets of manga, of
Mm-hmm.
anime, is that there are these symbols. When you get the person with the teardrop over their head, that has a
Mm.
meaning. What does that mean? Understand it.
Now I get.
See.
I have boys, and I didn't.
Yes.
They
All of
do.
these things have meaning. All of them.
Got
So
it.
learn what those meanings are, and then see what kind of stories you can tell by implementing these symbols.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the best parts.
And we have another coach, apparently, Mr. Chad, that worked with
Oh
the.
yes, hello, Mr. Chad. Hello.
Listen, and I think that's great that you did crowdfunding to even go into the schools, and that you were able to bring it, because you actually had class today too. I
Yes,
remember you were telling me that.
yes.
And how was that? How was that? I mean, so not only are you doing what you love to do, and then you made sure you went back and grabbed not one but several
Yes.
several. You said 10 schools and about 200 kids. That's. And
It's a couple.
how is your class, like? What is your class success rate? Have teachers said they've seen a difference in their children's reading scores, and what feedback are you getting from that?
We do get that actually. What becomes the most obvious piece is that the teachers now have an entrance point to their students that they didn't have before.
Okay.
They have, and this is one of the follies of many school systems that are designed to teach to a standard rubric as opposed to allowing for learning to be the focus so that kids can
Mm-hmm.
just engage and capture what they need to. So I get to be this special projects, advisor, and bring something in that the kids respond to. And it's amazing because we now live in a time where for me to say something superhero or comic booky is not unnatural. It's popular, and popular in a way that it's in movies, it's in video games, it's
Yeah.
clothing. So it's the perfect access point to engage them on something. And again, teachers might not have had that interest, so they are a little lost on it. So that's what I facilitate. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, is to have something where a student that might be difficult to reach, now you have something that has their attention. And then how you motivate them further, how you extract that interest, becomes the true marking of a phenomenal teacher. And I've seen teachers pull some great projects out of some of the things that we've put together.
Wow. Is there any particular program, maybe not, so maybe some all children are not necessarily geared to do a 4-year degree, but
Mm-hmm.
what would you recommend for an artist so that they can maybe begin getting at least additional skill sets from the entrepreneur side? Because you got to have that first. You got to know how to read
Yes.
your contracts, write your contracts. So that part are class recommendations. And then from the art and using professional software and stuff, what certification, school, can you share with us what that would look like, or what you would suggest?
Sure. So this becomes a very tricky question because
Okay.
school learning does not necessarily equate to proficiencies. This is one of those things where, to a degree, to be base level in school means that you have higher potential as being an artist. So, say you are a B student when it comes to math. That means that you have a mastery of a skill and you understand it to completion, and that's great. That's what we want to see in math. But if you were an A B student in art, what that means is you have an understanding and a proficiency in a technique, and you may not explore that any further. You may not push yourself to see exactly what more can be manipulated or extracted or learned from this technique. So in a school setting, art is a little bit more subjective. So I
Okay.
rarely recommend outside of an arts impact high school, which gives you a survey, allows you to try many different types of art so you can really understand what you like. There are some amazing schools, don't get me wrong. CCAD is one. Columbus College of Art and Design is a great school. I attended for a short while, however I did not graduate, and part of that is because I was less classroom oriented and more actualization oriented. Rather than learning how to make art, I wanted to make art. So that is something that ends up kind of changing a student's dynamic. So really what you have to look at is, are you prepared to learn how to do something, or are you more eager to get out there, try it, and learn tactily, where the act of doing is how you'll learn it. So that's definitely
But the one benefit for you though is that you
Mhm.
did go to an arts impact school. Like
Yes.
the high school self was arts impact. You already
Yes.
had exposure to some college level
Oh, I
stuff
did.
as well. Plus you had the career center. So even if they don't have those things with like a maybe an Adobe Photoshop certification program at Columbus State,
Absolutely.
or like they need to learn the okay, so
Yes,
that's
yes.
good.
Because so it's more about learning the tools, and
Okay.
I'm all for learning the tools. Like, you have to learn the tools, because that's really how you'll be able to define what your technique with those tools is going to be. So learn that base level. I mean, we had that benefit from computer graphics course with
Yeah.
Mr. Walton,
Mm-hmm.
the drawing basic courses with Miss Weidenbush, like all the way up. Those were foundational things that I've used in my career without knowing that that's where that came from, until I stopped and looked back and go, that's when I
Ah.
learned that.
You
That's when I
just
learned
you
that.
think about those teachers are amazing, man.
The best, the
Well,
best.
teachers rock and coaches rock. We do have a
Yes.
question from Alan though.
Mhm.
He said, "What does your setup look like?" So, Alan, maybe expound a little bit more on what you mean with that, but I don't know if you could pick up from what he's asking. He
Sure,
says, "What
sure.
does your setup look like?"
So this is my office. This is where I'm recording from right now. So I am currently on a Mac. I have a 5 foot draftsman table that this is sitting on, and this draftsman table I've had for almost 30 years. This was given to me by my aunt Carolyn, who is a interior designer. So when I was younger, again, getting into art, I had many people that were supportive of my exploration, and she gave me this table, and I've had it since I was a child. Right here, this is an art table that I inherited from another friend of the family, who inherited from a family member who actually started the Rhode Island Institute of Art. And while I'm not necessarily big on drawing, I am big on energy, right? So the idea of something that started a collegiate institution being in my studio space is something that I'm pulling from as constant source of inspiration. If I feel tired, if I feel uninspired, I can look at this table and go, think about who sat here, and let's
Wow.
pull from that. Like, let's draw from that. Honestly, my daughters draw more at this table than I do, but that's part of the benefit, is to have these things in reach, and have them ready to explore things. I have a bookshelf of art books, notes, all kinds of wonderful things. This large white shelving system over here, I actually just got that from a express store that was closing down, but it's going to hold art supplies and all kinds of wonderful stuff. So this is
Your workspace. You got it. And then if you could maybe send us the tools, and I'll get those over to the
sure,
coaches, since we've got our youth on the line who are into the anime and then the
of
arts. Like
course,
if there's any particular books, for someone like Alan, since he's asking for the setup, a supply list,
of course,
if
of
you
course.
will, to kind of start them out. I will definitely pass that back if that's what you meant, Alan. And I normally only try to go 30 minutes, and we're already 3 minutes over, but it's okay. I mean, it's okay. We've got great questions, great
Yes,
dialogue. Our
indeed.
coaches are on, our students are on, some folks from the community, and we thank you all for being here. So
Very much so.
I've got about two more questions, unless
Bring them
anyone
on.
else
Bring them on.
has
Bring
any.
them on.
What is it that motivates you to do what you do in this space? Like, was a graphic designer? What motivates you?
So having children is definitely a big thing. One of the things that is the tenet of my career is showing people that they can, and there's nobody more important to show that they can, whatever it is, than my own children. We live in a society where too often, children of color specifically get told no.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want, even for my own interests. Yes, I am living my life. I'm living my dream, and I might even have a practical, edict to my kids, but I want them to know, like, when you are dedicated to something, when you know what is your path, I need you to explore that, whether I'm on board or not. I need you to define your future for yourself, because that is the most important thing. You have to live this life, and you have to be the most comfortable in it. So it has to be something where that self-empowerment of chase your dream, run it down, make it happen, because it is yours, and it will never be as important to anyone else as you.
Right. So, what three things would you tell our youth as they begin to enter the workforce, say in your industry of art, whether it's fine art, graphic design, sculpting, whatever? What three things would you tell them? Like, I know we've got Alan on the line. If there's someone else, I'm sorry, but Alan has been talking to us today.
I love it.
So if we have any other youth that are on the line that are interested in art, let us know that you're here, and ask your questions. This is the perfect time to ask Mr. Victor any question, and he will do his best and answer. But yes, what three things would you tell them?
Okay, so number one, I would say do anything that is in the creative field. Only do it if you love it. If you are doing it for the money, that's not going to last. It's not going to matter. You'll find excuses to not do it. Do it because you love it. And it's hard to define or describe what that means, but you'll know when you get there. The easiest way that I can describe it is when it's something that is daunting, you jump at it anyway because you're excited for the challenge of being able to do this, not scared of it. However, number two, embrace the things that terrify you. You know, that's how you'll grow as an individual. That's how you will truly advance yourself. There were things that I've done, you know, the first time that I stepped on stage with a celebrity, that wasn't what I came for. I came to make comic books. So to have this opportunity to say, sit down and talk to this person that is way more famous, there's 1,000 people in this room and they're here to see that person and you're going to talk to them. I was terrified. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Because you never know what that's going to build. You don't know what skill set that's going to ignite within you. You know, seek those opportunities that are strange, unusual, but prolific. And the last one that I will tell you is don't stop. Start early and do not stop. You know, if your focus changes, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with changing, but just keep moving forward. Don't stop. Adjust, rearrange, redirect, pause, leap forward, but just don't stop. You know, don't let anything stop you.
Wow, that was great. So one, don't do it for the money, y'all.
That's right.
Do it because you love it. Okay?
Yes.
Number two, embrace the things that terrify you.
Yes.
That's a big one. And then don't stop, start early, but do not stop. So thank you so much, Mr. Victor. I think we've got another question that come in from our coach.
Yes.
So how often should I be creating, and what program and communities are out there for artists needing support to become a better version of themselves?
Oh, that's a great question. You should create as often as you can. Create something every day. You know, that's just something that when it comes to mastery, they say that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of your craft. Create something. It doesn't have to be huge. And that's the benefit of being a creative. It does not have to be huge in scale. It just has to be something that you do that moves you forward just a little bit. When it comes to programs, I won't, you know, limit you by saying that you need this particular program or this particular program. There are some industry norms, but that changes as new things happen. So try whatever excites you, or again, moving to number two, whatever scares you, whatever thing that you don't think that you can do, try that. That's the thing to try. Now, when it comes to groups, it is so amazing how, specifically in Central Ohio, we are a huge little space, right? There is somebody that has some connect in something that you're interested in. You just probably don't know it. So the first thing I'll do, or what I'll tell you is, find a comic shop near you and talk to them. Find out who the creators are in your area. I promise you, there are many. Like, there are so many different resources. It's not even funny. And sometimes the best resources are the ones that don't seem to have anything to do with what you think. Case in point, manga, anime having its roots in Disney. Most, you know, people don't look at it that way. So find those things that don't seem like they fit and find ways to extract information from them. There are places that you can visit. The Billy Ireland Cartoon Research Library, which is on The Ohio State University's campus. Beautiful place to get history, culture.
Is it open to the public?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's where they're like, what community resources?
Oh, yes.
What Chris is. Okay.
Huge.
Definitely send that list to us, because I think
Okay.
that would be helpful for Coach Chris and the other ones.
can
And
definitely
please,
do that.
you can keep going. I
Yes,
didn't know
yes.
that was open to the public. This was
Yes.
like you have to be a student.
It's a beautiful, beautiful space. They have art exhibits that you can go through that are curated, and they'll focus on things from political cartoons, women in comics, immigrant comics, like so many different ideas that are absolutely phenomenal. The Wexner Art Center often has things that are of that same caliber. The library, there's an event called CXC, Cartoon Crossroads Columbus, that is hosted at the main library. They bring in a lot of different creatives from all different walks of life. It's absolutely beautiful. I also have to give a shout out to SoulCon, which is also put together through The Ohio State University, which is a showcase of Black and brown creators, which is huge. You're talking, people that look like me creating with a scholarly base to it. They talk about the educational value of comic books. They talk about the cultural value of comic books. There's so many different things that can be found. So
Can you share the Columbus Library program again? I'm just going to type that in the comments really quick.
Sure. Yeah, it's Cartoon Crossroads Columbus.
Cartoons Crossroads Columbus. Okay.
And shorthand is CXC is what they call it for short. I just
put it in. And do you have to have a library card or anything for that?
No, it's free. It's absolutely free. And then SoulCon, SOL-CON, is one that they actually petition schools to come to this event, and they host workshops.
M-R-N, I'm sorry.
So, Con, C-O-N, as in Nancy.
C-O-N, okay, with OSU, okay.
Yep, and they petition schools to come in. They host workshops. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So, shout out to Frederick Aldama for putting that together. There's so many people that are creative-minded, and you can find resources all over the place.
Well, listen, you guys can contact Mr. Victor's information's here, www.vantageinhouse.blogspot.com. Shop his information's there. You can follow him and like him. And then our student asked, he said, can you follow him on Instagram at King Allen234?
Done and done.
Come on, Allen. Listen,
done and done. Shoot that shot, Allen. Shoot that shot.
Listen, and he's doing it right now, Allen. If you don't see, he's doing it right now.
Listen.
I'm gonna leave that up just for a minute so he's King Allen at 234. Listen, Allen, high five to our youth out here asking the right questions as they're getting ready to transition into the workforce. Mr. Victor, we are forever grateful for you reaching out. We do have a few announcements before we, let you go all the way. But just a reminder for everyone that we do have our college readiness Wednesdays. We have another one coming up on February 3rd with Coach Chris and Dr. Kirsten Fox. We've had some great folks on. Our first one was with OSU. Some of their diversity folks were on there talking about admission. The second one was with wasn't Otterbein, but it was another, so I can't remember the school. I know this week was Otterbein, and the week before I think was Miami University. So we did financial aid or FAFSA part 1 and 2. So for those of you that are interested in a college pathway, that information is available with Lead the Way Learning Academy. If you want to find out our programs, you can visit the link tree for Lead the Way, which is listed here. You do need to register for college readiness. It is still free and open to the public, so share it with your friends, but you do need to register, and you can do that by using this link here. So, man, this has been a great one. This is the first time we went like 45 minutes, though.
I'm sorry,
but you're good. You're good. If there aren't any more questions, again, we thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Victor, and we'll get those resources out to our youth and maybe even share some of those things as a follow-up on our social media places for Lead the Way. Again, I've had an honor of hosting and having you, and probably got to bring you in for something else too, but we'll see. You guys have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out with us, and have a great rest of your night.